Turning point. Jake Martin stared at his reflection in the cracked mirror of his small studio apartment. His eyes were tired, his hair a mess, and his heart even more so. Just 2 months ago, he had landed his dream internship at one of the top tech companies in New York. Now, everything felt like it was falling apart. "I need to hit the hay," he muttered to himself, turning off his laptop after yet another night of failed code and error messages. But even though he said it, Jake didn't move. The midnight oil had been burning for too many nights in a row, and it was taking a toll on him. He rubbed his eyes and leaned back in the creaky chair, wondering how things had spiraled so quickly. Back at the office, the pressure had intensified since his team leader announced a sudden project deadline. Jake wasn't the only one struggling. His whole team was in the same boat. Everyone looked worn out. Coffee cups were piling up on desks, and nobody remembered the last time they took a proper lunch break. But Jake, being the newest intern, felt the weight the most. The code wouldn't run. His ideas were shot down. And worst of all, he overheard someone saying he was too green for the job. "I can't take this anymore," he sighed. For a moment, he was tempted to throw in the towel. Maybe he wasn't cut out for this. Maybe it was time to head back to Ohio and forget the city ever happened. The next morning, despite feeling under the weather, Jake forced himself out of bed. His head throbbed, his throat felt sore, but he knew skipping work would only make things worse. The office was abuzz when he walked in. Someone had just introduced a new feature to the app they were developing, and it was catching fire online. People were smiling, laughing. Even the strict manager was nodding in approval. Jake's deskmate, Lila, leaned over and whispered, "Looks like everyone's jumping on the bandwagon." They loved the new feature. Jake forced a smile, but inside, he felt worse. That feature had been something he once suggested in a meeting, and everyone had ignored him. Now, someone else pitched it, and suddenly it was genius. He bit the bullet and congratulated his coworker. No use crying over spilled milk, he told himself, even though it stung more than he expected. 3 days later, Jake's body gave in. He collapsed on his couch after work and couldn't get up. Fever, chills, and the kind of exhaustion that no coffee could fix. He called in sick and spent the next 2 days curled up in bed, watching the city through his window. He felt defeated, invisible, and forgotten. But in that silence, something stirred. Lila called to check on him. "I know things have been rough," she said kindly, "but you're not alone. We're all stressed. You're not the only one who's made mistakes." Jake blinked. No one had ever said that to him. Maybe he really wasn't the only one drowning. Maybe they really were all in the same boat. By the weekend, Jake felt a little better, physically and mentally. He replayed Lila's words in his head. For the first time in weeks, he opened his laptop without dread. He didn't try to compete or impress. He simply worked. He cleaned up his previous code, fixed bugs patiently, and started a fresh draft of a feature idea he'd been too afraid to share before. He burned the midnight oil again, but this time it was different. Not out of panic or pressure, but out of genuine passion. The next morning, he emailed the new feature concept to his supervisor, adding, "I know this might be a long shot, but I want to try something original." Later that day, the supervisor passed by Jake's desk. "Good thinking, Martin. You might be onto something here," he said, tapping Jake's shoulder. Jake blinked. Was that a compliment? For the first time since he started, Jake felt proud. The following week was a blur of meetings, improvements, and sudden teamwork. Jake's idea sparked other ideas, and soon the whole team was working on a new version of the app. More user-friendly, more intuitive. Jake stayed focused, even when things got tough. When bugs appeared or deadlines tightened, he bit the bullet and pushed through, remembering why he came to New York in the first place. It wasn't just about success. It was about learning, growing. Then one day, a big tech blogger featured their new update. Overnight, their app shot up in popularity. Tweets flooded in, praising the new design. The team gathered around a conference room screen, watching numbers climb in real time. Jake was on cloud 9. This was the moment he dreamed of, but success came with its own pressures. New bugs appeared. The servers overloaded. Users demanded more features, and the boss added new deadlines. Sleep became a luxury again. One night, Jake sat alone in the office, eyes red, shoulders heavy. He stared at his screen and sighed. "I can't keep doing this," he whispered. The urge to throw in the towel returned like an old ghost. He stared at the exit. His backpack was already on the chair. He could walk away right now. But then Lila walked in with 2 coffees. "Thought you might need this," she said. Jake laughed weakly. "You read my mind." She sat down beside him. "Look, don't let the stress erase what we just achieved. You're one of the reasons we got here. We all feel exhausted, but if we stick together, we'll get through this." Jake looked at her and smiled. "Thanks, Lila. Seriously, I needed that." They spent the next few days in a whirlwind of updates, testing, and fixes. Everyone worked as a team. There were jokes, pizza nights, and even a little karaoke during lunch breaks. And when the app finally launched its new version to record-breaking downloads, the company held a small celebration. Jake stood in the crowd, a glass of soda in hand, watching everyone laugh and smile. It was hard to believe that just a few weeks ago, he'd nearly quit. He looked around. These people had become more than co-workers. They were a team, and they had been in the same boat through every storm. A few weeks later, Jake was walking home through Central Park. The cherry blossoms had started blooming. He sat on a bench, watching kids play and couples walk by. It felt peaceful not just around him, but inside him too. He thought about the past months. The fear, the failure, the fatigue. But he had gotten over it. He didn't let one bad stretch define his journey. He'd bitten the bullet, hit the hay when he could, cried a bit over spilled milk, sure, but he had also grown, learned, and discovered strength he didn't know he had. The end. Hit the hay, go to bed. Bite the bullet. Do something painful or unpleasant that is unavoidable. Cry over spilled milk. Be upset about something that has already happened. Jump on a bandwagon. Join a trend or activity. Feel under the weather. Feel sick. Throw in the towel. Give up. In the same boat. In the same difficult situation. On cloud 9. Extremely happy. Burn the midnight oil. Work late into the night. Get over something. Recover from a difficult experience.
Hey.